Thank you for taking the time to watch this short video about the assessment extension process and procedures. The Assessment Policy and Procedures Higher Education Coursework outlines the procedure for time extensions for submitting assessment tasks. This document is available to staff under Policies and Procedures on StaffNet and is also available publicly on the CEUC University website. Students can apply for an extension of the assessment due date on the grounds of medical, personal, family, work, or other adverse or unforeseen circumstances. Students must request their extension prior to the due date and time. Students can enter a request for an assignment extension up to 5 days after the due date, but it should only be approved if they establish a sound reason for this. Otherwise, the late penalty of 5% of the total available marks must be deducted. If the extension request is for 14 days or less, the unit coordinator will receive a system-generated email asking them to consider the request. If a student requests longer than this, the request will come to the Learning and Teaching Services officers, and we liaise with the Deputy Dean Learning and Teaching to make a decision. You may be consulted as part of this process, depending on the DDLT's preferences. But in these cases, we ask that you do not respond to the student in relation to the request. Students are able to request extensions to a maximum of 28 days. If students indicate that they need longer, we must direct them to apply for withdrawal without academic and financial penalty instead. A response is due to the student within 5 working days of their request. The system will send a reminder email if the request has not been actioned after 3 days. After 5 days, an urgent email is sent with a copy sent to the Learning and Teaching Services officers to follow up on the delay. We copy this to the DDLT in case they may be aware of issues such as staff leave that would prevent the request being finalised by the unit coordinator. If a student wants to appeal the decision made by a unit coordinator or Learning and Teaching Services officer, they have one opportunity to request this and should do so by writing to their DDLT within 5 working days. If you receive an assessment extension request, here's a small checklist for you to use when considering how to proceed. 1. Has the request come through the assignment extension system? If the student has phoned or emailed you their request, please direct them to apply through the link in Moodle. Please do not advise them that you support their request until they have taken the step of applying formally, as they may misinterpret this as their request being approved with no further action required from them. 2. Does it include sufficient details and supporting documentation to allow you to make a decision? The student must demonstrate exceptional circumstances beyond the student's control and must support this with appropriate independent documentation. There used to be a stipulation in the policy that extensions of 3 days or less did not require supporting documentation. This is no longer the case. All extension requests require supporting documentation. We will cover supporting documentation in more detail shortly. 3. Has the request been submitted on or before the assessment due date, or has a sound reason for the lateness of the request been demonstrated? 4. Any other facts you consider relevant, such as students' engagement in the unit. You have 3 options for responding to an assignment extension request. 1. Approve it in full as per the student's request. 2. Approve it partially. This could apply in instances where you believe the student has asked for more days than are warranted under the circumstances, such as a student requesting 10 days extension when they have a medical certificate that only covers them for 3 days. Or deny the request. In these cases, please ensure that you explain why it has been denied in your comments back to the student. If they have provided no or insufficient supporting documentation, you can advise them what is missing and request that they come back and upload the revised supporting documentation when they have it, and that you will reconsider it when that happens. We prefer that you deny the request rather than leaving it open so that open requests are not forgotten and left open in the system. The Assessment Policy and Procedure outlines the criteria that medical certificates must meet in order to be compliant. It must be signed by the practitioner and include the provider number. It must be dated on or before the assessment due date. It must state the date that the student was examined and the nature, severity and duration of the complaint to allow you to make an informed decision regarding the application. Therefore, it needs to be more specific than saying the student is not fit for duty or the student is suffering from a medical condition. Supporting documentation for compassionate and other reasons. Applications based on exceptional circumstances involving compassionate reasons, misadventure, or other exceptional circumstances beyond the student's control, and where the circumstances are not within the range of normal risk, must include sufficient written evidence from an independent person to corroborate the facts and circumstances claimed by the student to support their application. The terms misadventure and normal risk are defined in the policy. If their work commitments have unexpectedly increased, they can provide a letter from their employer. If there is a death in the family, they can provide a death or funeral notice. In the case of internet or technical problems, they can ask for confirmation from their provider or service technician in writing. Please note that an independent person does not mean a parent, partner, or friend. We require something official on a company letterhead or similar. In cases where it might be hard to source documentation and nothing is available due to the type of circumstances, the student can be asked to complete a statutory declaration. If you are unsure if the documentation supplied is compliant with the policy, please contact your Learning and Teaching Services Officer for advice. We do encounter several attempts to submit fraudulent supporting documents each term. If you have any concerns over the validity of a supporting document, please contact your Learning and Teaching Services Officer. Any case of fraudulent or unverifiable documents will be dealt with under the academic misconduct procedures. Now I'm going to show you how to action your pending assessment extension requests. There are two ways to do this. The first is to click on the link provided to you in the email notification. This slide is an example of the email you will receive when a student has raised an extension in your unit, with the link circled. The other way is to access all pending requests in Moodle by following these steps. The assessment extension database sits in Moodle. Navigate to the Moodle homepage. From the navigation block, select Extension Status to view all extension requests. You may filter the list of extensions by unit or the state of request. Alternatively, if you wish to view all requests relating to a particular student, you can type their student number into the search field. To view the details of a request, click either the course or activity link. The full details of the request will appear, including links to the supporting documentation. Prior to approving the request, you may wish to adjust the requested period by clicking the Modify Extension Length link. It allows you to adjust and save the requested extension period. The Modify Extension Length link should also be used in instances where students have already been granted an extension but request more time. However, please be careful not to approve an extension of any longer than 14 days without Deputy Dean Learning and Teaching approval. You can add a comment prior to approving or denying the request, which will be sent to the student. You can then either approve or deny the request by clicking the Approve Request or Deny Request buttons. If a request is approved, its status changes to Granted, and the extension is applied to the student's submission area. Why should all extensions be recorded in the system? The information is available to those who need it. If you are using the system and unexpectedly need to take leave, someone else can pick up where you've left off. Extensions that are organised by email between you and the student are not going to be able to be accessed, and students may wrongfully be given late penalties. Another reason is that it talks to Moodle. When you approve an extension in the system, Moodle will automatically adjust the student's individual due date for that assessment item. When the student does submit, Moodle will tell you whether the student submitted by their new due date or if late penalties need to be applied. Also, consistency across units is important. If the student is asking for a 3-week extension in one unit, it is likely they will ask for extensions in other units due to the same circumstances. By having these longer extensions assessed by the Deputy Dean, all requests can be considered consistently. It can make us look unprofessional if one staff member says yes to an identical request that another staff member says no to. For shorter requests that are assigned to the unit coordinator for a response, you can search the database for a student's other requests, which can also be used to apply consistency. Finally, it allows the application of DA grades against students whose due dates extend past the finalisation of grades at the end of term. When a school admin officer is checking grades and they can find a DA, they are able to access a corresponding extension request in the system that tells us when we can expect the grade to be finalised. Finally, here are the contact details of the Learning and Teaching Services officers. If you have any questions about anything relating to assessment extensions, please do not hesitate to contact us for advice.